Good morning, world. It's 1:35 in the morning. Today is your lucky day. The internet court is here. And when I'm finished making this video will get uploaded in a good 15-20 minutes afterwards, after I finish the video. So all you people who live in Europe, New Zealand, Australia, Japan, China, you know what I'm saying? Africa, you guys will watch my video in a couple hours from now when it gets uploaded. Whereas all you people on my side of the world, you guys are all sleeping right now. Except for my wife VJ doesn't sleep obviously, so she'll watch my video when it gets uploaded obviously because she doesn't sleep. She just puts in the energy to cry all night long. She doesn't sleep. That's what she'll watch it obviously because she's fucking crazy and what. And all the Hollywood celebrities who have a hard time sleeping, you know what I'm saying, because you're stressed out, you know what I'm saying. All you guys who are nighters, you guys will all watch my video when it gets uploaded in the morning. My video will get uploaded around, I don't know, it's 1:35 now. So my video will get uploaded probably around 3:30, 3:40 around there in the morning. So some people might wake up and watch my video early in the night and they might go back to bed or something like that. See what I'm saying? Yeah. Was the other half of the world will be able to watch my videos because they're all awake right now. Right now it's like I don't know the afternoon. It's like the afternoon in the other side of the world right now, right? It's like 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And it's like 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the other side of the world, like Europe, New Zealand, Australia. It's a different time than now, obviously, right? Whereas the people who live on my side of the world, America, Mexico, South America, right now, everyone's sleeping right now, except for the people who stay up like me, right? Ivan, are you a nighter? Yeah, I change up my sleeping schedules. I change my sleeping habits every like couple months. There's sometimes I stay up till like 10, 11, 9 o'clock in the morning and I go to sleep and I wake up at like 7. And there's sometimes when I go to bed around 12 and I end up waking up in the morning around 7, 8, 9. And I change it up. Sometimes I stay up till 4, till 2, 3 in the morning. I go to bed at 3. And I wake up at like 3, 4 o'clock. And I change it up. I change up my sleepings, my habits, obviously. Sometimes. But I like making videos in the morning because it's nice and quiet. It's very nice and quiet. There's no noise upstairs. Everyone's sleeping. I can make my video. So I'm saying everyone's sleeping. It's easier for me to make a video. So I'm saying. Yeah, I get my check in 2 days. I'm happy about that. I have to wait 6 days for my check. Starting on the what? Because this month I was stupid. I spent all my money before I got my check. I usually save enough money until I get my following check, but this month I didn't do that. I kept getting smokes. I would smoke my smokes, obviously, and I would walk to the store in the morning and get it, and early in the morning and midnight, 3, 4, 5 in the morning, and I would get another pack, obviously. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to make sure I have enough until the end of the month for the month of September, obviously, because September is an exciting month, man. You have The Last of Us Part 1, Rabbids walkthrough. Rabbit's going to do a walkthrough of The Last of Us Part 1, remastered on PS5. He won't do the whole game because he already played the game on his channel, but he's gonna probably do a good maybe 7, 6, 8, 9, 10 parts of the game around there. You know what I'm saying? That way you get a feel of the remastered version of Last of Us Part 1 on PS5. Resident Evil 4 is coming out next year, not this year, I was mistaken. And you also have God of War coming out in November. That's coming out. And Rabbit, who knows, there are other games that Rabbit might play, obviously. See what I'm saying? Yeah, and Rings of Power is coming up September. This Friday, September 2nd, is the premiere of Rings of Power on Amazon Prime. So I'm letting the world know, yeah, you're welcome, obviously. You're welcome, Amazon. I'm promoting your fucking show out there. I told you, I believe Rings of Power will be a sleeper hit, maybe. It'll be okay. It might split the fan base. Half the fans are gonna hate it. Half the fans are gonna love it. You know what I'm saying? I don't think it's going to be what. I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be what. I don't think it's going to be like the next Game of Thrones, I think Rings of Power will be. I hope it is. Like, I wish Amazon the best. I hope Rings of Power is the next Game of Thrones. But it's very, very tough to top a show like Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones raised the bar, man, for what? For fantasy shows, man. It's so good that even Wheel of Times is nothing compared to Games of Thrones. I'm saying, I heard Wheel of Times, the show wasn't that great on Amazon Prime. I heard the Wheel of Time series wasn't that great. I hope Lord of the Rings is better than Wheel of Time. Most likely is, and I hope it's the next Game of Thrones. But I don't think it will be. I think it'll be a good show, but I don't think it's going to be the next Game of Thrones. I think it'll be a sleeper hit. Sleeper hit means like your show was successful, but it's not like a huge hit. You see what I'm saying? For example, for a box office, an example of a sleeper hit for a box office. Let's say if they make a movie for $100 million and the movie does $550 million, that's like a sleeper hit. But it's not a huge hit. It didn't do like 800, 900 billion dollars. You know what I'm saying? Right? If a movie's made for $100 million, for it to be a hit, it has to do at least like 700 million for it to be a huge hit. Whereas if it does $550 million, it's a sleeper hit. It made little profits, but it wasn't like a huge hit. You know what I'm saying? Right? That's an example of a sleeper hit. It's successful, but it wasn't like a huge hit. A lot of people slept on it. You know what I'm saying? It's a sleeper hit. Was a huge hit is like Game of Thrones, like where it had like 10 million, 8 million, 7 million viewers tuning in, like every week. Yeah, like Game of Thrones was a huge hit. Obviously, Game of Thrones set the bar for fantasy shows. It's so good that every fantasy show that came out after was bad compared to it. It was bad. All of it was bad. You know what I'm saying? Wheel of Time, Shannara Chronicles. You know what I'm saying? Shannara Chronicles was alright. It got canceled after 2 seasons. Wheel of Time, I heard, wasn't that great. You know what I'm saying? You have other shows that they all do their best to copy Game of Thrones, but none of them could compete with Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is too good of a show. So will Amazon Rings of Power be the next Game of Thrones? Who knows? We'll see what happens. We'll see. I heard it has a good 8 to 10 episodes the first season. It's like 6 to 10 episodes. I don't know. I think it's 8 episodes, I think. I'm going to watch the show, and I'm going to see how good the show really is, obviously. I'll make a few comments about it, obviously, when I watch it. Yeah, I want to know what you thought of the show. Yeah, I'll tell you what I thought of the show when I finish watching the season. And you're going to see Lord of the Rings Reddit explode with blogs. You're going to see the fans talking about the show. Half the fans are going to hate it. Half the fans are going to love it. Yeah, that's my prediction. Half the fans are, yeah, I love the show. I think it's a good show. And you're going to see other fans, yeah, I hate the show. I don't like it. You know, it doesn't feel like Lord of the Rings. Yeah. 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 I don't think Rings of Power will be as bad as Last Jedi in terms of fans hating on it. Whereas Last Jedi, Rian Johnson split the fan base, man. As I mentioned in my last video, he split the fan base. Whereas I think some of the fan base will be split for Lord of the Rings of Power. I don't think it'll be as bad as something like Last Jedi, man. Last Jedi was crazy. Like Rian Johnson got death threats, man. From fans, yeah, man. The Star Wars fans are, because even though Lord of the Rings fans are crazy, they're not as crazy as Star Wars fans. Star Wars fans are crazy, man. They what? They're so crazy. They gave some of the Star Wars actors death threats, man. They're fucking crazy people, yeah, man. You see what I'm saying? I don't think it'll be as crazy as the kind of what the kind of hate that Rian Johnson received from Last of Us from Last Jedi. I don't think it'll have the same hate, as Star Wars fans are crazier than Lord of the Rings fans. Lord of the Rings has crazy fans, but not even close to the kind of fans that Star Wars has. Star Wars has crazy fans, man. Star Wars has the biggest fandom in the entertainment industry. Like Marvel and Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter have a lot of fans, but not the kind of fans that Star Wars has, man. Star Wars has crazy, crazy fans. Crazy, crazy fans. There's a reason why Neil Tuse's channel, Star Wars Theory, he has the biggest channel, the biggest movie channel on online, yeah, because on YouTube, yeah, because Star Wars fans are crazy, they're big. Whereas the biggest Lord of the Rings channel, I believe, is Nerd of the Rings, and that guy only has a good like 700,000 subscribers. So I'm saying I believe he has the biggest YouTube channel, Lord of the Rings YouTube channel on YouTube. Nerd of the Rings. He's pretty much the Star Wars Theory of Lord of the Rings, right? He knows everything about Lord of the Rings. Whereas Star Wars Theory knows everything about Star Wars. You see what I'm saying? They're both crazy nerd fans. And you compare the Lord of the Rings, he has 700,000 subscribers, and Star Wars Theory has 3.3 million subscribers. Yeah, Star Wars fans are crazier than Lord of the Rings fans, Harry Potter fans, and Marvel fans. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. 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 Star Wars fans are crazy, man. They're crazy. Like Lord of the Rings fans are crazy, but not as crazy as Star Wars. Star Wars fans are crazy. They're crazy fucking fans, man. Hence why, even if the fans don't like Rings of Power, and a lot of fans hate on it, obviously, it's not gonna have the kind of hatred that Last Jedi had or Rise of Skywalker had. The Star Wars fans are crazier than Lord of the Rings fans. Lord of the Rings fans are crazy, but not as crazy as Star Wars fans. Star Wars fans are crazy, man. There's a reason why J.J. Abrams never wants to do Star Wars again. I guarantee J.J. Abrams. I heard J.J. Abrams say, "Yeah, I never want to do Star Wars ever again. It's too much pressure." Yeah, because the fans are crazy, man. The Star Wars fans are crazy. You know what I'm saying? J.J. Abrams, like, yeah, I never want to touch Star Wars again. I never want to do a Star Wars project ever again. It's too Star Wars is so much fucking pressure, man. Yeah, high pressure, man. Yeah, because the fans are crazy, man. The fans are crazy. That's why J.J. Abrams, like, yeah, I never want to do a Star Wars franchise ever again. Yeah, because it's so much pressure, obviously. Just like Peter Jackson never wants to touch Lord of the Rings. I heard he never wants to direct Lord of the Rings ever again. He didn't even want to direct The Hobbit. He only wanted to write it and produce it because he didn't want to compete with his Lord of the Rings trilogy. And that's why Peter Jackson, I guarantee, he's like, yeah, I never want to direct Lord of the Rings ever again. He wants to take a break from Lord of the Rings. Yeah, I'm saying, huh? Obviously, I'm pretty sure he wouldn't mind maybe producing it or writing it. But I don't think he would want to. If Rings of Power wanted to bring him on board, I'm pretty sure Peter Jackson would gladly come on board as a consultant or like a co-writer or a producer. But I don't think he would want to direct it. Hey, let someone else direct it. I don't mind co-writing it with you and consulting and producing it. But the Rings of Power showrunners and the Amazon CEOs, they ghosted Peter, man. Which is shocking. Why would you ghost the man who created the fucking Lord of the Rings franchise? Is it because you're scared that he wouldn't like? I don't know. Maybe the Amazon CEOs were scared Peter Jackson would have had some issues with their script. Yeah, I don't like what you guys are doing here for Rings of Power. Man. You should change this. They were scared, and they even fired Lord of the Rings like scholars and all that stuff who were consulting. Yeah, they fired Lord of the Rings scholars. They ghosted Peter Jackson. I heard. Yeah, which is a little bit of a red flag, obviously. Why would you fire your own Lord of the Rings scholar? Because the Lord of the Rings scholar was what he disagreed with a lot of stuff we were doing. You know what I'm saying? And like, I don't want this guy. I don't want to fire this guy. Like we know more than this guy, right? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And they fired Lord of the Rings scholar and they ghosted Peter Jackson, which is a red flag. Why would you ghost Peter Jackson, man? Peter Jackson directed fucking The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. You ghost him? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, man. Yeah, it's crazy. It's fucking crazy sometimes. Yeah, obviously. Yeah. Ivan, what do you think will happen? I don't know. I think Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power will be a pretty good show, but I don't think it's going to be the next Game of Thrones, guys. I'm making that prediction, but who knows? I might be proven wrong. It might. I thought Matrix would make $400 million. It was a flop. It only made like $200 million. I was wrong about the Matrix, obviously. I might be wrong about Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power. Rings of Power, I predicted it to be a pretty good show. Maybe a 6 out of 10, 6.5 out of 10 show, perhaps 7 out of 10 show. I don't think it'll be an 8 or 9 or 10 out of 10 show. I think it'll be a good 7, 6.5 out of 10 show. The Rings of Power. Yeah. There's some red flags about the show, man. You know what I'm saying? They don't have much source material. They fired the Tolkien scholar and they ghosted Peter Jackson. Now, those are red flags about the show. Maybe they were scared Peter Jackson. Yeah, if we have Peter Jackson consult for our scripts and show, obviously, he might disagree with a lot of stuff we're doing and tell us to change. I was like, we don't want to change all this stuff because it's too much work. Yeah. And I guarantee the Tolkien scholar was what? I guarantee you the Tolkien scholar, he was pointing out flaws in their show and they got angry and they just fired him. Yeah, you're interfering with our show. Fire this fucking guy. Fire him, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. They fired the Lord of the Rings scholar, man. Like a guy who knows Tolkien, Lord of the Rings inside now. He's a scholar of Lord of the Rings books. And the Amazon showrunners fired him. And they also ghosted Peter Jackson. That's a red flag, man. Why did they fire that guy? Why did they ghost Peter Jackson? And there's probably some reasons. Maybe Peter Jackson didn't like what they were doing for the show. Yeah. Because I saw the Rings of Power trailer. The show looks okay. It didn't look great. It didn't catch me. But it didn't look terrible too. It looked in between. It looked pretty good, but it didn't look amazing. Like the Lord of the Rings movies. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But I wish Amazon the best. I hope Rings of Power is a huge hit, and I hope it's the next Game of Thrones. If it's not, that's too bad, obviously. And I think it'll be a pretty good show. I think it'll be good enough to warrant 5 seasons. I think it'll be good enough to to air for a good 5 seasons. And after the 5 seasons, they're going to end the show. They're going to end the series after 5 seasons. See what I'm saying? Yeah, so right now it's 2022. So in 2027, 2028, around there, the Rings of Power show will end. It will end, obviously. See what I'm saying? And around that time, I'll be close to filming my Zane's movie. By the time the Rings of Power... 2027 will be what? Around 2027, around there, I'll be what? I should be training. Doing the takeouts and signing all the crewmen and actors and training for my Zane's movie. 2026 should be when I start SkySource. 2025 around there should be when I'm king and I collect my check. VJ already knows the year I'll be king. She can see the video. I know what year you're going to be king. You know what I'm saying? She knows. I have the keys. Probably 2025 around there I'll be king. 2025. 2024 I pay the fee. I suffer death. 2025 I'm king with VJ. 2025 I am king with VJ, obviously. And I'm going to take my 8-month vacation. I'm going to plan SkySource with VJ, with George Lucas. And in 2026, I'll be hard at work in the office with Mel Gibson or Peter Jackson. Most likely Peter Jackson. I'm probably going to choose him over Mel Gibson. Don't hate me, Mel. And we're gonna work on that Last of Zane's movie project. Write the script. You know what I'm saying? Make the calls for the main 7 things. Do the console arts. Obviously. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. My 7 team are going to be hard at work making those business calls. Yeah, man. Yeah. But I'm going to have them have help. So I'm going to have Barry Osborne and Fran and Gwen Moltor help out my 7 make those calls. Hence why 7 people is more than enough. As long as you have assistants to help them, it's enough. Peter will be like, yeah, Ivan, if you have Barry and my wife Fran, you know what I'm saying, and Gwen Moltor help out the 7 team, that's more than enough people to make the calls, Ivan, yeah. And I'll have Peter just help me with the main, 6, 7 things. Peter Jackson, have him help you with the main 6, 7 things. Don't have Peter do dirty work. No, he's a boss of your movie. For Lord of the Rings, Peter did dirty work, but he didn't do the kind of dirty work that Barry and all of them did. As the assistant producers and all of them are the ones who do all the dirty work. The executive producers don't do as much work. They do some work, obviously, but the executives are focused on signing contracts and only the main stuff. Whereas the assistant producers do all the dirty work. Peter Jackson did dirty work, obviously. He had to write the Lord of the Rings script. That's a lot of work, but it's nothing compared to the kind of work the crewmen and the assistant producers are doing. You know what I'm saying? So even though Peter will do dirty work, he's only going to help me co-write the script. Co-writing the script is dirty work, but it's not the kind of dirty work that the 7 team are doing. The 7 team have to make all these calls every day, 5 days a week, Was Peter's only going to help me with the main like 6, 7 calls. You see what I'm saying? And he's going to help me co-write the script. Co-writing the script is dirty work, but it's not the kind of dirty work that the 17 were doing. It's way more slack, you know what I'm saying? And he does a concert art with me. Concert art is slack. You just sit down for 3.5 hours every afternoon, and we discuss the movie. We discuss what pictures we like, and that's it. And he gets his, and he goes to his hotel. He dedicates a good 1 hour, 1.5 hour of his time, and he takes his notes with Guillermo del Toro. And then the next day, I'll have Jon Favreau print a copy of his notes, and I will go over his notes with VJ, and I'm going to write in my notes some of my ideas. Obviously, I'm going to go over his notes, obviously, and whenever I have ideas for some of his scenes, I'll write down my ideas for his scenes too. I can do that with VJ. That way I help Peter Jackson out. He won't need my help, though. The guy's talented, man. Peter Jackson will not need my help. But guys, man, Peter, you did Lord of the Rings. You don't even need my help. You know what I'm saying? As long as I do the concert with Peter and I watch those movies and I tell him my ideas, because during the I don't need to write in my notes for Peter Jackson for the scenes because I'm gonna tell Peter Jackson all my ideas during the concerts, so he'll know obviously. I'm gonna watch all those movies with Peter because I'm not gonna babysit Peter. I'm like, Peter, I trust you. I trust him to make a good movie. I'm more than happy to help him out a little bit. Tell him my ideas during the concert art meetings. I'm gonna watch those movies with Peter. That way I give him ideas. Oh, I have some good ideas. Hey Peter, let's watch this King Kong clip that, your movie King Kong. Remember these big insects? Yeah, I'm thinking something like that for when they enter the Western Ghats Mountains. And you have the big mosquitoes, mutated mosquitoes that are the size of your hand, about the size of your hand, they bite the people. See what I'm saying? Yeah, something like that. You tell Peter that. You tell Mel Gibson that, whoever I choose. Yeah, you tell Peter Jackson that. You tell Peter that. The way Peter knows. See what I'm saying? Yeah. You watch Young Messiah. Okay, I have some good ideas for Young Tactics, Ivan. You watch Passion of the Christ. Yeah, this is mature Tactics in Volume 3 when he grows his beard. Yeah. You watch Prince of Egypt. You get some good ideas for the Safians marching through the ancient Gilead city and the cursed Western Gilead Mountains. They all have torches in their hands, and they're all scared because they're now in the Gilead Mountains, the Ephesus territory, and those mountains are cursed, and that's where the demon bats live. Yeah, you're looking at a master that I wrote, man. Yeah, man. That's why I'm making a prediction, guys. Lord of the Rings even though Lord of the Rings is a masterpiece, it will not be as good as my Zanus movie. Zanus will be a better movie than me and Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings. I'm pitching all the scenes in my mind. I'm like, yeah, I can't see Lord of the Rings topping that kind of story. But it'll be very close, man. But Zanus will take the edge. You're looking at an amazing fucking movie, man. You apply all that money towards the movie, you have Aratat and all the bats and Mephisto and all the devils, and you have that amazing world building, that amazing action sequences and the horror of the wolves and bats. You have that. You have me act as Tactics, VJ as Lithia. You have all those characters in the story. You're looking at a masterpiece of a story, man. Best movie trilogy ever made. Best movie trilogy ever made, guys. Right now, Lord of the Rings takes the crown. Lord of the Rings is the best movie trilogy ever made right now. When I say it's the best movie trilogy ever made, I really mean I think objectively, Lord of the Rings is the best movie trilogy ever made. I don't think anything is better than that, man. There's some people who disagree with me, but there's movies that are objectively better than other movies. The story stands the test of time, obviously. I've yet to see, guys, a movie trilogy better than Lord of the Rings, guys. Like, Lord of the Rings has been out. Lord of the Rings got released about 20 years ago. 20 plus years ago, and all these trilogies came out, and I've yet to see a trilogy better than Lord of the Rings. You can argue Transformers if you want, or Star Wars trilogies are better if you want. But the Star Wars originals are not better than Lord of the Rings. They're good movies, but they're not as good as Lord of the Rings. I'm saying, like, you see a difference in quality when you watch it. The Star Wars sequels are not better than Lord of the Rings. The Star Wars prequels are not better than Lord of the Rings. Transformers is not better than Lord of the Rings. Harry Potter is not better than Lord of the Rings. There's some people who like Harry Potter better, but Harry Potter is not better than Lord of the Rings. You see what I'm saying? But there's some people who like Harry Potter better, obviously. I heard Star Wars Theory is a Harry Potter fan. He likes Harry Potter better than Lord of the Rings, obviously. I think he's wrong. I think Lord of the Rings is better than Harry Potter, but everyone's entitled to their own opinion. I'm not going to gatekeep and say, if you don't think Lord of the Rings is the best movie ever made, you're a hater. No. I'm not a shill. I'm not gatekeeping. If everyone's entitled to their opinion, if you don't like Lord of the Rings, it's perfectly fine. I think you're crazy, obviously, but it's perfectly fine. Everyone is entitled to their opinion. I'm not going to gatekeep. If you don't like Lord of the Rings, as for some people who don't like Lord of the Rings, obviously. But in my opinion, Lord of the Rings is objectively the best movie trilogy ever made. I don't think anything can beat that, man. I don't think anything can top that. That's what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? As an individual movie, you can argue other movies are better, obviously. But as a trilogy as a whole, I don't think any trilogy can top that. I'm like, even the Matrix trilogy doesn't top Lord of the Rings. Because only the first, like, two were really good. The third one wasn't that good, you know what I'm saying? Matrix Reloaded was a good movie, too, but it wasn't as good as the first one. You can argue the first Matrix is better than Fellowship of the Ring. You can argue it's better than Two Towers. You can argue it's better than Return of the King. I think the first Matrix is better than Return of the King, in my opinion. But I don't think it's better than Two Towers. I think Two Towers is better than the first Matrix. But you can argue the first Matrix is better than Two Towers. But as a trilogy, Lord of the Rings is better than the Matrix. As Revolutions wasn't that good. Reloaded was pretty good, and Matrix 1 was a masterpiece. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, Ivan, you're right, man. Like, if you think about it, yeah, I don't think anything can top Lord of the Rings. Yeah, nothing can top Lord of the Rings for the trilogy. You see what I'm saying? If you're gonna talk about individual movies, you can make arguments. You can argue the Godfather 1, the Godfather Part 2 is better than Lord of the Rings if you want. You can argue the Matrix 1's better. You can argue Transformers, the first one, the third movie's better if you want. You can argue Gladiator is better if you're gonna talk about individual movies. But as a trilogy, as a consistent trilogy, it's the best movie trilogy ever made. See what I'm saying? So when I say it's the best movie trilogy ever made, guys, I'm talking about as a trilogy as a whole. When you combine the three movies in terms of the quality and the consistency, it's the best trilogy ever made. But in terms of individual movies, you can argue other movies are better, obviously. You can argue Godfather, you can argue Transformers, you can argue Star Wars, you can argue what? Matrix, you can argue a lot of good movies after that. Gladiator, Braveheart, Passion of the Christ, you can argue, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of arguments that can be made for movies that came out, obviously. You can argue the Marvel movies are better individually. I think Lord of the Rings is better than all the Marvel trilogies. All the Marvel standalone trilogies that were made, obviously. So, Ivan, you think Lord of the Rings is better than the Avengers trilogy? Yes, I think Lord of the Rings is better than the Avengers trilogy. It's better in quality, man. Like, even though Avengers is good, the writing isn't as good as Lord of the Rings is still better than the Avengers trilogy. But you can make an argument that the Avengers trilogy is better. The Avengers 4 movies are better if you want, but it's not. The Avengers 4 movies are not better than the Lord of the Rings. You know what I'm saying? They're not better than Lord of the Rings. They're not. You know what I'm saying? They're not. You know what I'm saying? But again, everyone's entitled to, but there's some people who like, obviously, the Avengers 4 movies better than the Lord of the Rings trilogy. But it's not better when you watch it. Like, you see a clear difference. Yeah, even though the Avengers movies are amazing, they're not as good as Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings is better, you see what I'm saying? Yeah, but the Avengers movies were masterpieces. The first one was good. The second one was alright. The second one was pretty good. And Infinity War was the best of the 4 movies. And then Endgame was kind of boring. It wasn't that great, you see what I'm saying? As in my opinion, Endgame was an overrated movie. I'm surprised it made more money than Avengers Infinity War. The movie was 3 hours of boredom, man. You know, the movie was pretty boring. Yeah, it was a pretty boring movie, man. The whole thing, it's just them talking, man, the whole movie. In the end, you have that big battle. You have Captain Marvel. You have Iron Man, Cap, and you have Thor against Thanos, obviously. And the end was obviously sick, obviously, but like the whole, it's like 3 hours of boredom, man. 2.5 hours of pure boredom, the movie, man. You know, like Infinity War was better than Endgame, guys. Yeah, it was better. Yeah, it was better, man. The only reason why Endgame made a lot of money is because Infinity War was so good, and they ended it off. They ended Infinity War off with a huge cliffhanger. I wonder what's going to happen with Thanos, and that's why everyone went to the theaters to see an Endgame. You know, it was a what? It was kind of like a bait and switch, right? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You end Infinity War, okay, I wonder what happens with Thanos and all those guys, and you watch Endgame, it's 3 hours of pure boredom, yeah. So in a way, Marvel kind of, that's a smart way of marketing, obviously. Smart way of marketing. I guarantee you everyone's like, yeah, man, like when I watched the end of Infinity War, I was so excited to see Endgame, and Endgame wasn't what I expected. It was boring, yeah. It was 3 hours of pure boredom, man. It was a pretty boring movie. It was pretty boring. Yeah, man, you know what I'm saying, man. It was a pretty boring movie, Endgame. It wasn't terrible. It was a good story, but it was a little boring. And I'm not a fan of the whole multiverse going back in time and changing things. I hate that. Hence why I didn't really like Endgame that much. In my opinion, Endgame was a good, like, I don't know, 6 out of 10 for me. It was okay. It was pretty good. But it wasn't like a 9 out of 10 like Infinity War and the first Avengers movie, you know what I'm saying? The first Avengers movie and the what? And the third movie I really liked. The second one was pretty good. I was alright with Ultron. That was pretty good. But the first one and the what? And the third one I really enjoyed when I watched it. Was the second one was alright when I saw it, and Endgame I was bored to death, man. I didn't enjoy it that much. It was pretty boring. It was a boring movie. It was pretty boring. Yeah, it was a boring movie, man. Slow and boring, man. Nothing happens, no action at all. It's just them talking for like 2.5 hours. It's boring, man. It was pretty boring movies. That's why Lord of the Rings even beats out the Avengers trilogy. And it beats out all the Marvel trilogies too. See what I'm saying? Because even though the Marvel movies are good, they have they have a lot of comedic scenes that are unnecessary in the movie. You know what I'm saying? I notice how in all the Marvel movies they always add a lot of comedic dialogue, comedic scenes that are unnecessary for the movie. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, that's why I like Lord of the Rings better than Lord of the Rings is the best movie trilogy ever made. But you can argue individually some of the Marvel movies are better than Lord of the Rings movies if you want, obviously. But as a trilogy as a whole, nothing can top Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings it takes the crown, man. That's the best movie trilogy ever made. And I think it is objectively the best movie trilogy ever made, Lord of the Rings. I think objectively it's the best movie trilogy ever made, Lord of the Rings. But you can argue other trilogies are better if you want, but I think Lord of the Rings is the best, obviously. But even Lord of the Rings will not be as good as Zanus. You know what I'm saying? Infinity War, Endgame will not be as good as Zanus. Remember that buzz with Thanos, man? Remember that crazy buzz with Thanos, Infinity War? Evacuate the city. Prepare your defenses. And get this man a shield. Remember that? Remember you saw the trailer? You know what I'm saying? And you see what? You see Thanos. You had that crazy buzz. Holy shit, this movie looks sick. Yeah, if you think that's crazy, nothing compared to the buzz of Zanus, man. As for Erita, looking at the devil himself. Yeah, man. Looking at the walking demon, the walking devil incarnate, man. Like the walking devil, yeah. Something crazy. Yeah, man. Look at something crazy for the fame of Zanus, man. Something crazy. Yeah, man. You're looking at something crazy for the fame of Zanus, man. Something crazy. It's gonna have crazy worldwide buzz. That's why something tells me I want to build that theory, and that way the world can get that experience at IMAX. But it's just a lot of work, and it's money that we just don't need. That's why I'm just the forgiving on Amazon. It's still good enough. You get to put money. All you Hollywood celebrities who are rich, you can easily put money into a nice 20, 10, 50, and you even have IMAX private theater in your house, and you'll get a good experience at home with your girlfriend, your wife, or your kids. You see what I'm saying? And that's why looking at crazy worldwide buzz for my last Zanus movie, man. Something crazy, man. And that's why Peter and Mel are really going to compete for that job, because they wanted to direct a movie so bad, obviously. But be careful for Peter, as Peter's a greedy animal. Try my kind of here.